Hey, that guy with the glasses here. You know, a lot of people have been asking me what my favorite movies are. Now, a lot of you already know what my first all-time favorite movie is, but a lot of people have been asking, well, what's some of my other favorites? And I was thinking about it, and I actually came up with a list. And usually I do like a top 10 list or something like that, but really I just love movies so much that I feel really bad if some got left out. So I'm actually going to do a top 20 list. These are my top 20 favorite movies. I know that's a lot, so I'll try not to make them too long, but yeah, a lot of people have been wondering about this, so I am here to tell you what my top 20 favorite movies of all time are. So, here we go. Number 20. Titus. If you've ever seen a Shakespeare play or even an opera nowadays, Titus probably doesn't look that different to you. The idea of putting characters in no specific timeline, but rather a series of timelines through costumes and settings is nothing really new. But Titus was the first one I know of to do it on the big screen, and it also took one of Shakespeare's least popular plays and breathed all new life into it, both visually and with his character development. It's not like Baz Luhrmann's Romeo and Juliet where the setting and language seem really out of place. The visuals complement the dialogue perfectly, and do nothing but enforce the emotion the characters are going through. I think its director Julie Taymor is one of the few directors who's really pushing the boundaries of the film medium, even if not all her films are great. But she's made two really good ones, and Titus is by far my favorite. Surreal, intense, and all for the purpose of serving the master himself, Shakespeare. Number 19. Hamlet. Okay, I swear this is the last Shakespeare movie. Of course I love the play, who can't, but this version directed by Kenneth Branagh is my personal fave. I really enjoy the performances, but I especially love the atmosphere and setting. Unlike Titus though, this all takes place in one setting, sort of a Victorian-style era, I think. But it matches the work really well. The way it's set up and put together is really clever, and I really love how sympathetic Branagh makes the villain Claudius. He actually seems more like a real person than a lot of the other versions I've seen. There's some celebrity cameos like Robin Williams and Billy Crystal that are a little distracting, but for the most part they do a good job. All except, oddly enough, Jack Lemmon. Isn't that weird? You'd think he'd be the best out of all of them. But oh well. For me, this is the most enjoyable film version of the play I've seen. Clever, well developed, and of course, Shakespeare. What more could you need? Number 18. Patton. I always loved George C. Scott, and this is his role of a lifetime. Anyone can enjoy this movie, whether you agree with the character or not. Is it a pro-war film, an anti-war film? Well, it's both, and it's neither. It's a character study about one of the greatest generals of all time. The man was set in his ways and already knew he was the best, but he also had the intelligence and wit to back him up. He's one of the most fascinating people who ever lived, and this film really demonstrates that, straying very little from historical fact. Most of what you see is really what happened. In fact, a lot of the stuff is so strange you swear it wouldn't have happened, that they made it up for the movie. But most of it did, and thus we're left with a truly inspiring, complex, and remarkable human being, as well as one of my favorite movies of all time.
I love it.
Number 17. Ed Wood. Anyone who wants to go into a creative medium, especially film, should definitely see this movie. The antics of one of the worst directors of all time is brought to us beautifully through Johnny Depp's performance and Tim Burton's direction. It's so hard not to like Edward D. Wood Jr. He's so passionate and driven, but at the same time he's wasting people's money and making such creatively horrible movies. Do you respect him or pity him? Well, much like Patton, it doesn't really tell you how to feel about him, it just shows you the man and lets you decide for yourself. True, there are large chunks of the story that are made up, and it does bother me that they have Bela Lugosi swearing so much, even though it was never reported that he did. But I gotta admit, it's just funny. And as long as real fans know that he did swear like a sailor, I guess I don't mind too much. And I can say as a person who makes videos that I always think of this movie. Why? Because no matter how good I think my work is, there's always the possibility that it's pure crap, and that I don't see it. I guess in that way it's a cautionary tale, but it's also about spending your life doing what you love and the effort you'll go through to achieve your dreams, even if the end result isn't exactly what you expect. What else can you say but Ed Wood rocks? Number 16. Fantasia. Easily Disney's best animated feature. Though there's no dialogue or even a continuous story, Fantasia has the most drama, beauty, and darkest elements of any of their films. The idea is wonderful, putting animated images to classical music, thus creating visual poetry. I think my favorite parts are the opening and closing. The abstract images of Toccata and Fugue really create a dreamlike experience that seems very similar to what people think of when they hear music, like on a subconscious level. The ending with the Night on Bald Mountain teamed up with Ave Maria is just brilliant. They offset each other so well and really create an unbelievable moment of music and imagery that actually kind of seems meditative at times. You're probably wondering what I thought of the sequel, Fantasia 2000. I like parts of it, like the whales, the Hirschfeld homage, and the Goddess of Nature, but I don't think it always took itself very seriously. Some of the pieces I could see more on a Saturday morning cartoon than an animated feature. Not to mention the celebrity appearances are just painful to watch. I really hate it when Bette Midler refers to Salvador Dali as the melting watch guy. But we still got the original, the best, and the undefeated master. Fantasia is visual music to my ears. Number 15. The Secret of Nim. I already talked in detail about this in my top 11 underrated classics review, so I won't talk too much about it. I just love the atmosphere, the characters, and how seriously it takes its audience. I said before that I saw the movie as a three-way battle between science, nature, and the unknown, and I still believe that. And in the end, it seems like all three are needed to evolve and survive in a prosperous future. I don't know if that's what the director's original intent was, but those elements are still present. The characters are good, the atmosphere is wonderful, and of course the artwork by Don Bluth is just fantastic. Nothing much else to say except I love this movie and everything it has to offer. Number 14. Sideways. This is one of those films that's kind of hard for me to explain why I like it. It just feels like I went on a really wild road trip. Our two characters, Jack and Miles, are both really intelligent and really stupid in their own way. We identify with Jack's constant lust for life, but acknowledge he never thinks about the consequences, and often gets into trouble. But we also identify with Miles, who's more simple and cautious, but allows few things to happen to him, resulting in him slipping into a depressing stage. Do they learn anything by the end? I think Miles does, but Jack I'm not so sure. But to be fair, I think that adds to the realism of it. It makes them seem like more three-dimensional characters. A lot of people complain that there's a lot of negative dramatic moments in the movie, but it just makes the positive funny moments seem all the more enjoyable. When funny scenes happen, they seem all the more funny because we are watching so much dramatic stuff. There's one scene where Miles has to get his wallet back, and because of the tone of the film, we don't know if it's going to be a funny moment or a serious moment. I won't spoil it for you, but needless to say, it's unforgettable. And that's the film in a nutshell, unforgettable. Not all of it is positive, but then again, the most memorable experiences have both negative and positive elements. And this is an experience I won't soon be forgetting, no matter how much Pinot Noir I drink. Number 13. Spirited Away. This movie is so good, I actually sort of hate it. I'm jealous of it. I'm jealous of its likable characters, I'm jealous of its creative story, I'm jealous of its unbelievable visuals. It's an idea that's not based off of any book, movie, or TV show. It's just all originality, and I friggin' love that. Again, mixing a lot of negative elements with positive ones, Spirited Away makes you remember every joyful, scary, or downright beautiful moment. My favorite scene is when they're on the train. Nobody says anything or does anything, it's just pure atmosphere, allowing you to take in the mystery and wonder that the film and the world it's created has to offer. I love this film so much, I despise it. I think that's one of the highest compliments you can give any movie. Spirited Away. It's so good, it has to be bad. Number 12. A Clockwork Orange. For me, this is sort of a life-changing movie, a film that really made me question choice, free will, good, evil, and everything in between. The premise is brilliant, creating Alex, the most despicable and mentally psychotic human being, and taking away his choice, transforming him into an upright citizen. But he finds the civilized, peaceful world turns him into an outlet for their own rage and fear. It's just a great idea. I love the scene where the journalist tries to help him out and acknowledges that what society has done to him is barbaric. But when he finds out that Alex has wronged him in the past, all his ethics disappear and he becomes one of those vengeful barbarians himself. That's just perfect. Stanley Kubrick's direction is wonderful, even if parts of it are a tad outdated. The angles, motion, and surreal atmosphere just add to the disturbing environment he's trying to create. It's a film that makes you ponder and question, like most great films do, about choice, violence, and the human mind. Clockwork Orange is an easy fit for my number 12 spot. Number 11. Fearless. This is a sort of hypnotizing movie, almost like you're in a daze most of the time. A film that draws you in from beginning to end and makes you want to confront real, undiluted pain in the hopes of conquering it. Jeff Bridges plays a survivor of an airplane crash, and it leaves a strange effect on him, almost like he's halfway between alive and dead. He starts seeking more thrills in the hopes of being woken up from this morbid altered state, but nothing seems to work. At times he's unlikable, even horrible, but the movie's technique of pulling us into what he's going through at least tries to help us understand why. The ending is one of the few scenes in which I actually get a little teary-eyed at. The way they simulate an out-of-body experience really puts you in that world between life and death. And it's done so cleverly, but with so little that it continues to take my breath away every time I see it. It's not always an upper, in fact it's rarely an upper, but certainly another one of those films that made me look at life a whole different way. And that's part 1 of my favorite films. Stay tuned for part 2, which will be coming up soon.